with small businesses is they don't seem to understand like a cost per acquisition, where they're thinking in their mind, I paid for 100% of these leads. And let's just say the math works out that if only 20% of those convert, then they should be thrilled.
Yes.
And that means 80% will not convert.
Yes.
And so don't get hung up on the one person that says, I told them I wasn't interested. You find out they actually maybe don't own their home or some small detail. Like there's, as a supplier, 100% of the times I could go back, I could pull the recording and I could prove that this lead, as far as we knew, met all of your requirements and was a great lead. There was nothing like tricky or fraudulent.
It's like they get hung up, they live and die on the vine on every lead.
Yes. And it's like, look at it at a high level. 20% of these, making that number up, convert it. You're killing it. We're making money. Let's run.
This episode of Pain Points is brought to you by Ringba. If your business relies on phone calls, you need to be working with them. Their technology will help you get the most money out of your marketing campaigns. Their call exchange, Ringba X, can deliver inbounds on demand to help grow your customer base. Now, I want to be transparent. Ringba and Adam did pay me to deliver that message, but I'm also a customer, and I've watched them help dozens of companies become more successful over the years. So if you sell a product or service over the phone, I guarantee a moment with their team will be worth it. Are you stuck in that $3 to $10 million year-over-year revenue? Roofs in a Box is your all-in-one growth partner for modern construction companies. They combine AI, virtual staffing, and CRM solutions to help streamline operations. Replace your high fixed overhead with cost-effective systems and support. They empower you to run a smarter, leaner business, freeing up capital where it matters most. Mention this ad to save 10% on your next Roofs in a Box purchase. Well, welcome to Pain Points, where real pain equals real growth. Today we got Matt Gardner, a great friend of mine, who's a pioneer in the lead generation space. Has over a decade of experience in home services and lead nurturing and quality leads for small and big business owners. Yeah. So welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
Dude, I'm doing super good, and it's great to be with you, Ed. You say we're friends, borderline brothers, my friends.
Exactly. What I love about you, honestly, before we even get into it, is the fact you're a God-fearing man. You know, I love how most of our conversations don't even end up with work. It ends up talking about family, God, and culture, and how the meat, the real things in life. You know, not just money and business and the things that a lot of people like to cap about.
Amen to that. When you say God fearing, I'm thinking I have a lot of reasons to fear God. You know, so that's a good thing. It keeps me humble over the years. But yeah, amen. At the end of the day, we work because we have to. And while we work, we get a lot of enjoyment out of it. It's super satisfying, but it really enables us to do the things that we care most about. So
Right on. So I know you're in the insurance space now, so we'll get to that at the end.
Okay.
But most of my audience is in the home service space, and I kind of targeting like things that people just don't talk about or things that people just don't know about. So I'd like to start off with just talk about a little bit about what PfeiStrada did, what it does, and kind of talk about the evolution for how that company came up, and I ask more questions as far as the evolution of that has been.
yeah, perfect. I love it. Just recognize Andrew Jensen was the founder and started out as sole proprietor owner of PfeiStrada. I joined him, I think, about a year into the process. Him and I had been kind of executives in the EDU space back in the days. I had a lot of love, respect for Andrew, and then that just grew after I had a chance to work closely with Hannah. We went on, like I says, when I joined him, he was dabbling in just solar. And at that point, you know, he did not, or very few direct relationships with the big solar companies.
Okay.
There was a company called LG. Trying to think of what they were. Lead Genesis? Is that right? Yes. So they were like a reseller. And I think the majority of our leads were going to them. We started, you know, trying to generate our own leads through like a Facebook. And then we kind of got back into what we knew from our days being in EDU, which was what we called like a called verified lead, where we would do outbound to pretty much, you know, consent data, you know, like it was very like, you know, poor quality lead, but priced accordingly. And then we would find people who are interested, that were homeowners that were interested in solar. And then we would both sell that lead and transfer those leads directly to solar companies. We did that for about, 7 years. And right around like the 5, 6 year mark, we were able to, put the company on the market, had a buyer, and had a lot of success.
Oh yeah, no, I love that. You guys were pioneers in the space. What I love. So when did you guys? Because you guys had an evolution of how you guys delivered these. You guys started dealing with networks, like you said, like LG and other companies like that.
Yep.
And when did you start going like to direct to buy?
You know what? The minute you kind of know that your product is high quality, I know this sounds bad, but we would sell through the resellers because at the end of the day, it's like we don't know if our quality is good. And you don't want to burn a bridge with a direct client unless you know that your product is really good. So you kind of take advantage of those resellers. They're usually multi-selling leads. They're not known for their high quality. And so that's kind of how we started using them. And then the other evolution is you keep them in your distribution network as a little bit of a catch-all. I'm going to sell directly to a client, a high quality, high priced lead, anything that I can't sell because it's usually out of area, or I have reason to believe this isn't a high quality lead, but still is a good, honest, ethical lead. I would sell those through a reseller.
Okay. Was there a certain size company that you worked with? I mean, I know everyone prefers like the David versus Goliath kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But did you sell to everyone? Was it mid-size? Was it mom and pops?
So honestly, we had a hard time working with the mom and pops because they didn't have call centers or they were slow. So you try to transfer them a lead, they don't answer. Or you give them a lead and they call 3 days later. They lack speed to lead. They might just call one time.
So I'm going to stop you right there for a sec because I want to continue with the rest of the big buyers and mid-sized buyers.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the people I mentor and work in the lead gen space are small business owners.
Yeah.
And the guy receiving the lead is also the guy on top of the roof. Is also the guy that can't respond to the lead because they're like whatnot. And so you're using terminology that I understand.
Yeah.
But I need you to break down just a little bit more, like almost like on a granular level. Like to talk about the importance of Scuba Lead, why you have to contact immediately. What does it do to the KPIs, like the set percentages, the contact percentages by waiting even 5-10 minutes after a lead is formed? Can you kind of walk through speed to leading, why it's important for the audience?
Yeah, the number one reason it's important is just contact rate. It really, I mean, there is an element of a lead being warmed up and starting to cool down. That, in my opinion, is as important as it is secondary to the fact that, like, if you don't contact them, you'll never sell them. And so that really is what it comes down to. The best speed to lead, like for example, is be sitting there ready. So that when I transfer the lead to you, you have 100% contact rate. Every lead I'm trying to sell you. And then, of course, if that's not the case, if you're doing your own outbound dialing, then it's like if you can get to it within the first minute, that's good,
Right.
and it just exponentially drops from there.
Right.
And I think that was like the frustration with a small company is they might say, "Hey, this lead is poor," and we used a lot of data. We could go to them and say, "Hey, listen, these exact same leads. Here's your competitors. They're going to notice if they contact, let's say 60%, you're at 20%. That's on you,
Yeah,
client."
Eventually, like as taking ownership, right? You got to say like, hey, if all variables stay the same, you got a roofing company that you're selling to in Austin, and they're all buying the exact same lead, and their KPIs are all over the map. Eventually, it has to be a sales org problem,
Yes.
or a sales fulfillment problem, like a sales rep's just closing.
Another thing, like maybe switch topics a little bit with small businesses, is they don't seem to understand like a cost per acquisition, where they're thinking in their mind, I paid for 100% of these leads, and let's just say the math works out that if only 20% of those convert, then they should be thrilled.
Yes.
And that means 80% will not convert.
Yes.
And so don't get hung up on the one person that says, I told them I wasn't interested, or you find out they actually maybe do it from their home or small detail. Like there's as a supplier, 100% of the times I could go back, I could pull the recording, and I could prove that this lead, as far as we knew, met all of your requirements and was a great lead. There was nothing like tricky or fraudulent.
It's like they get hung up. They live and die on the vine on every lead.
Yes, and it's like just listen, just look at it at a high level. 20% of these, making that number up, converted. You're killing it. We're making money. Let's run. Let's not get hung up on one lead where the person said, "I'm not interested."
And do you think that is because people just don't understand like marketing dollars or CAC or cost of acquisition, or do you think it's just because a cash flow issue that their money is so tight that if they buy a lead that doesn't convert right away, it's like a fear tactic, or do you think they just don't understand the numbers in marketing in general?
Yeah, I would think all of the above. It is emotional. I honestly think it's this. This was the impression. There are a lot of bad actors. There's a lot of bad lead suppliers, and I think they've been burnt so many times. Our company happened to be good, honest, ethical, and so I just don't think they're used to that. And I also think they don't. They're used to, instead of letting the numbers tell the story, they're used to needing to complain and argue and puff up a little bit. And so I just think it's the industry breeds that a little bit.
That's a valid point. So LeadsCon is this week, and there's a million lead members. So if you were a buyer in the space, what questions would you ask to like vet lead buyers? Because this is something like we have to kind of go by our gut. We know TCPA, we know clients, we know to ask the questions how long they've been in business and who to do business with. But most business owners don't have access to that. Yeah, even us sometimes we deal with networks for different things, and then we get. Yeah. So what are some of the questions and some of the potential pitfalls and landmines to kind of avoid, and some questions that you would ask?
Yeah, it's a great question. And on that note, we kind of were a buyer because we were a little bit of a middleman. We would buy a lead and then we would contact it, enrich it, and then transfer it. So, you ask, all the questions. You ask about consent. You ask about, can you prove that consent? Trusted form. You kind of get a pulse. A lot of times we would weed them out just by volume. How many are you doing per day? And if they were super small, that usually was an indicator that it's just not even worth our time. Right. We purposely created like a process to like a compliance process to scare them away. It's like we would kind of like create this red tape that if you want to work with us, I have way more risk than you do, buying your lead. And therefore, we got to check all of these boxes. And we kind of use that as a deterrent because everyone's going to come to you and say, I got leads. They're super high quality. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. But I would say like 20%, 10% made it through our compliance process. And of the ones that made it through, another like 10 to 20% would actually stick and back out. So we found that, we wasted a lot of time and these, a little bit of money, but a lot of time just with everyone saying, yes, I got leads. Right. That's why I work with you. I think, 60 to 80% of my lead volume came to you at the end of the day.
I love that.
That's why I took such good care of you by my friend.
Yeah, but that's another point too. Like you look about partnerships. I feel like a lot of times, like nowadays, it's all about speed of lead. It's all about money. It's like those conversations of acquisition cost and a true partnership. Right? Like, hey, this isn't working. What can we grow upon? What's the win-win? Yeah. Like now we say a good deal is when two people walk away mad because if it's both people got what they want. Yeah. Do you find it's easier or harder to find those kind of strategics that do win-wins? Especially with maybe with the mid-size and the larger guys, but as it's almost impossible. But even like the mid-size and large people, and so many people are about the quick block or just burning time. Like, how easy do you think it is to find the win-wins with lead gen companies? And you went out of your way. This is the second question on the same topic. You went out of your way to find win-wins. Yeah, you would create a synergy. I hate that word, but you really did. To make sure that you put this long-lasting relationship into play to make sure both parties are happy.
Yeah. You know what? Man, you triggered a lot of thoughts. But yeah, what it came down to is we were desperate. Like demand was not an issue. Our growth was 100% dependent upon supply. So even though I'm buying it, I did not treat my suppliers like I'm the buying customer. I treated them like like I needed to take very good care of them. I didn't want to beat them up. Even negotiation, it's like, if as long as I have a margin at this point, I'll take it. It's hard to bring big CPI. Was never worried about, like the first date. It's more as like the leads will speak for themselves to negotiate, whether it's $1, or 20, it really just didn't matter. It's like, I'll believe it when I see it, and so the leads will speak for themselves. You know, the bigger problem you had was like, you also run into that problem in the industry is almost like your first sample of leads is really good.
Oh yeah.
And then the minute you tune up the volume, it completely changes.
I call it the bait and switch. You know what I mean? They put their best food on day one, and it's like a date, right? They take you out to the nice restaurant, and the next day it's like Chick-fil-A. Not that there's nothing wrong with Chick-fil-A, but you should have done that day one, and then you at least know what you're buying.
Yeah. And sometimes they do that knowingly. Sometimes, honestly, it's just the minute they try to turn up the volume, and you go back and say, I'm ready to turn up the volume, they say, okay, I'm tapped out on their current sources. So as they go to new sources, it's not like they're trying to sabotage the campaign. It's just that there's a lot of areas that's changed. That's why data, transparency, communication is key.
So let's back this up a little bit. You brought up a lot of valid points. Small business has a hard time doing this, and you're a little different because you know the numbers, right? You're a numbers guy. And I'm a numbers guy. That's not necessarily sexy to homeowners, but I really like the But you do put the numbers at. You do look at cost of acquisition, contact rate, set ratios, and so you have these numbers. So if you're a business and you're dealing with the market, what are besides speed to lead, like you want to make sure at least from the first minute that you're calling them back or answer the phone call or minimum. What are some of the key numbers that you feel like business owners need to have identified to get a successful campaign?
Yeah. So one thing that is like broken, anyone who has a call center. That call center, their like KPI that they care about is like their per hour. Usually it's what they call sales per hour. Right. And what that means is they're just really focused on being efficient, fast. And the problem with that, if you wanted to be super efficient and fast, you would make horrible decisions. You would call your leads one time because you're going to get that biggest squeeze after one attempt, and then you would throw the lead away. If you wanted to just spike your sales per hour number, and then you would also use like a each machine detection. We've been using auto dialer that's just creaking through those leads super fast. Your sales per hour through the roof, but your conversion rate, your effectiveness. You'd say of those 100 leads that I just purchased, I got one sale. I did it super fast. And what you care about is like, I don't want a 1% conversion rate. I want like a 5% conversion rate. What's going to make it a 100%? Therefore, you need to look at like the majority, like 80-90% of your cost is not your call center, your reps. It's your lead. Yeah. And therefore, it's like, and these leads are gold. I want to be super effective and get the most I possibly can out of them. So I mentioned like answer machine detection. That was counterintuitive. We did not use that on our first cycle. We get a lead and we would very carefully and slowly dial them because with an answer machine detection, there's a small little delay from when the customer picks up the phone and from when your agent can say, hi. That right there will cut your conversion rate in half. And most people don't know that, and so, but to the contrary, if I was buying a really cheap lead, 20 cents, 40 cents, I would use answer machine detection because the cost of those leads is so cheap. The majority of my cost is my labor. And therefore, I want to be.
So you brought up a good point, and I think this is where most people don't understand. Every lead type is different. Right? Like Meta is different than LSA. Google ads are different. Google and YouTube is different than Google.
Yes.
And different traffic like native and TikTok, all of them have different conversion matrix. Yeah. And all leads shouldn't be handled the same. Right? It's a lot of it. And this is one of the things that goes back to what you're saying. Know the numbers, know the cadence, have a lead nurturing flow. Yeah. Right. And I think what happens is most people try leads they're not ready for or don't understand the proper follow on cadence to that lead type or don't have the systems in place.
Well, let me give you another one, like speed to lead. if it's this warm lead and it's a high intent, high quality, expensive lead, you got to be fast. If there's a counterintuitive part to that. Some of the leads we were buying were coming from like a courage pathway. What that means is it's being multi-sold to 6 people, and that means that when you get that lead, you have 6 companies bombarding it. Those leads, guess what we did? Sat on, wait 2 weeks, then call. And it's like the opposite of what you would think you would want to do. And so it really, like you says, it's about knowing your leads, and it's about knowing the data. In this game, you have perfect tracking at every step, the website, the call center, everything. So you never really know what you're supposed to do. You say, let me hypothesize, let me try something, and then just measure, let me A/B test it. Like, we got to the point, I don't know if I'm going too much, but like knowing like how many times should I dial a lead. Everyone else out there just has an average. Like, I'll just call them 10 times. We would literally make a decision on how to call a lead based on where it came from. The geographic, was it a Texas lead versus a California lead? We dialed differently, and so we get super granular in being extremely optimized. I'm not aware of anyone that does that. Everyone kind of just treats everything in aggregate.
They kind of bundle it together. So we're going to wrap up pretty soon, but I do want to hit you on 2 different points. One is technology, just in this space, because you're in insurance now. You obviously come from lead generation. You guys sold your business, so congratulations on that. But now you're in a new space. How do you see the evolution of AI technology, recording, just kind of where the business stands today, and where do you see it going? Just in because you're a tech guy, you're a data guy, you're a numbers guy. Just talk about that for a second.
Well, something that might be specific to me, we use soundboard technology with 100%. So, we most of our call centers were out of the Philippines, and you had a rep who could use soundboards. So you sounded American, had a perfectly controlled, compliant script. Those reps can all be replaced. I can still use soundboard, but I have AI making the decision of what to say. So that one comes to mind, and you can really eliminate a lot of your reps. And then, of course, the thing that like we were just getting into left was all of like the nurturing automation of, we were strictly call center, and we were just now automating. Okay, now I'm going to send you a text. Now I'm going to send you an email. Right there in that text, you can set an appointment. I don't even need to call you anymore and try to do it over the phone. I can just do it all automatically.
Right. Now, I guess, you're here for, you do ACA, you're getting into Medicare, you're doing insurance.
Yes.
You kind of have a unique platform where you actually have the consumer fill out all their information online, so they don't have to deal with people. Is that kind of your workflow now?
Yeah, I don't think I'd say so you don't have to deal with people, but it just makes it so they don't have to deal with us. People that are, it's interesting that people, on an ACA plan, they could go to the marketplace themselves, but they're choosing to go through us. And now they have an agent who can help pick the best plan for them, or they can pick it themselves. But we have made it, like you says, the hardest part of any lead is to contact it. We've just made it so we don't have to contact
Right.
it.
They initiate the work and initiate the flow. And how do they find you? What's the name of your company? How do they find you online? How do they find you if they want to get a hold of Matt Gardner?
Yeah, so I'm the COO of Sparrow, and then one of our business units is Best Policy, and how to find me at? You go to Sparrow.company. That's where you can find me.
Brother, I appreciate your time, man. I love seeing you. I love your energy. I love having a trusted partner in this space, and thank you, my man.
Good to be here.
Thank you. Stay blessed.
This episode of Pain Points is brought to you by Ringba. If your business relies on phone calls, you need to be working with them. Their technology will help you get the most money out of your marketing campaigns. Their call exchange, Ringba X, can deliver inbounds on demand to help grow your customer base. Now, I want to be transparent. Ringba and Adam did pay me to deliver that message, but I'm also a customer, and I've watched them help dozens of companies become more successful over the years. So if you sell a product or service over the phone, I guarantee a moment with their team will be worth it. Are you stuck in that $3 to $10 million year-over-year revenue? Roofs in a Box is your all-in-one growth partner for modern construction companies. They combine AI, virtual staffing, and CRM solutions to help streamline operations. Replace your high fixed overhead with cost-effective systems and support. They empower you to run a smarter, leaner business, freeing up capital where it matters most. Mention this ad to save 10% on your next Roofs in a Box purchase.